And I advise a lot of undergrads in research, like something like 44 was my last count, although I think that's short now. So 21 of them published with me as co-authors, and currently 5 of those are NSF Graduate Research Fellows, 2 are in the SCG, Ford Foundation, DOE, that's 3 in the SCG now. I know a lot about fellowships. Any questions? So, for the last year or so, I've been at Landmark. It's a software company owned by Halliburton. I have this really weird title called Technical Advisor Scientist, which is just like 3 words somebody strung together. Probably because I'm on a small team where we're the first 10 people to have such titles. So basically we do 2 things. One is development of features for software. So we do the math and sort of proof of concept code, usually in MATLAB. Then we hand it over, if it works well, we hand it over to a developer who actually puts it in something that someone sells. And we also do sort of fast response R&D when there's a problem. So if there's a problem with a piece of equipment and there's no one in the company of 70,000 people or whatever it is who knows about this stuff, or they've talked to all the people they think that should know about this stuff, they basically hire us, and we usually don't know about this stuff, but we are tasked with going and learning about it and figuring it out. So they call it subject matter experts in industry, SMEs. So if there's no SME, we become the SME. Pretty cool. Interesting, maybe unexpected things. The primary metrics on which I'm evaluated are number of patents I submit and publications, which is very academic. It's weird. So they want the publication because it's like advertising. So we're not afraid to show you what's in the back end of our products. So Microsoft published their algorithms, right? But they're terrified that someone's going to copy it. So they patent it first, which is ridiculous in a way because no one would ever know if you copied it, A. And B, the things we're patenting are like first law of thermodynamics. I mean, it's not quite that, but it's hard to see how they would stand up in court. But that's what we do. Then we make a model and someone puts it in the software. Nice surprises about industry over academia. You get these bonuses. They're not insignificant. And bad behavior is really not tolerated. In academia, bad behavior is almost a good thing. You're more likely to get somewhere in academia by being a little bit nasty than being really nice. In industry, if you're nasty, they'll replace you no matter how good you are. Or they won't, they just don't care. They don't care enough that you're that awesome to have you being around and being unpleasant. I didn't know that was going to be true. Very unpleasant surprise. Actually in the news, I think today, Halliburton is planning on laying off 7,000 people, or 7%, I don't know, a lot of people. Everybody's been, oil's free now. That's not good, even though I don't directly do that, it is relevant. And there is really no such thing as job security. People who are high performers, who've been there a long time, or high performers who've been there a short time. So I've seen, in 14 months, I've seen 3 rounds of layoffs, and apparently the real big one's coming. So people just disappear. You come in the morning, hey, how's it going? 2 hours later, you're like, there's boxes on your desk, and you never see the person again. Really weird. Kind of disconcerting. It's not, it's business. It's truly when people say it's just business, it truly is just business. There's no hard feelings, nobody's but you go. That's pretty much it. So I have one other slide, but I'll save it for after questions, or maybe if there are no questions, then I'll use it to generate questions. Yes.
Like, most of the grads or material science people I know, even including you, did not do material science as an undergrad, so they only did in graduate or postgraduate. And
Right.
I talked to some people, and they were like, yeah, for undergraduate, you should do something more broad, like Maggie or chemistry,
We might have to turn off the recording.
and just apply and go to material science as a graduate as opposed to doing undergrad, doing material science undergrad already. So what's your take on that?
It's complicated. So if you want the highest probability of getting a job with an undergrad degree, you should get one of the big three: mechanical, chemical, electrical. So a zillion companies hire those three majors. They always have. They've hired them for 100 years. And when a new field like material science, which is not a new field, it's been around as long as any of those, or longer in a way, comes along, they just don't know what to do with it, right? Bioengineering falls into this too. So, and another one is, which Rice doesn't offer, but another one that falls into this is aerospace. So companies who hire aerospace engineers also hire mechanical engineers to do similar, maybe the same job. But a whole lot more companies hire mechanical engineers. So it depends on if you know what you want to do. If you know you really want to work in material science and you want to go get a graduate degree or find a job with an undergraduate degree that's going to appreciate your specific talents that you've gained as a material science undergraduate, then I think it's you can be confident going forward. If you're not sure, I have lots of personal evidence that suggests that mechanical, chemical, and electrical are very, very safe degrees over the long run. Petroleum is another one. Like 2 years ago, petroleum engineer with a master's in petroleum engineering was earning straight out of school 50, 60, 70% more than a master's in mechanical engineering in Houston. Now, maybe not so much, and some of them are unemployed, and they can't go to HP and say, I can do thermal design, even though they might be able to, right? Because HP says, no, I'm a mechanical engineer for that. And they can't say, I can do signal processing because I learned that along the way in my previous job, because they say, oh, I'm an electrical engineer for that. So companies have blinders. So there's no one answer. But the advice you got is not terrible advice. It's the safe advice, which doesn't mean the best. Yeah.
So you say these companies they only know what to do with undergrads with material science. But do you see that changing in the coming years, or?
I think it will change, but companies are slow to respond. Not all companies. So also it depends, right? So like most Rice undergrads in engineering go to oil companies. Okay? It's just like you're here, they're here recruiting, their offers are bigger than your competing offers from other industries. So most go to those companies. Those companies are pretty set in their ways. They've made a lot of money. They've done it by hiring mechanical engineers and chemical engineers. And now there's mechanical engineers and chemical engineers who are doing hiring. And so they go back and look for, hey, I want a guy who has my degree, right? I want someone who did what I did, because I know what that means. So that's saying, there are many other companies that don't follow this mold, right? So they're just not the traditional huge companies. So I think that there are plenty of companies you can find that would hire material science majors. It's just not the ones that most Rice students go to, which is again why it's like it's safe versus knowing what you want to do. If you know you don't want to be a mechanical engineer, you really want to be a material scientist, be a material scientist, you're going to find a job. You just might have to, it's not going to maybe fall in your lap as easily. Right? Chevron's not going to show up and be like, ah, you have a material science degree, great. We have a fatigue problem. They're going to be like, fatigue problem, mechanical engineers learn that. And I'm a mechanical engineer, so I'm going to hire a mechanical engineer. But yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm really honest. Like that's the honest advice. Like if you're going to play it safe, what's your undergrad? Mechanical. Any of the grad students got a material science undergrad? Sure. Other material science undergrad?
Yeah.
So you're fine, right? You're a grad student. You're in grad school now
Yeah.
at Rice. It's like a really, really good material science program.
Serious?
What's that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, it's as honest as I can be. If I was advising someone who didn't know what they wanted to do exactly, they thought they wanted to be an engineer, I'd tell them to be a mechanical engineer because you can kind of do electrical stuff. I do kind of chemical stuff, and do material science stuff. But my perspective is somebody whose family, nobody in their family went to college, so they didn't have a lot of like guidance of, oh, you think you want to do this? It was weird though, when I switched after sophomore year, they were like, finally, we were just waiting for you. It's like they knew without knowing. Yes?
Two questions about things that you said about academia. So like first, can you sort of expand on the thing about like sort of being a pick to get ahead in academia?
Sure.
And also, is it easier? I don't know if I want to do academia, but just sort of like one possible thing for freshmen. So
Sure.
It's like really far away. But like, is it easier to find positions in other fields versus material science?
The second part I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it might be slightly easier because every engineering school has a mechanical engineering program, but not a material science program. But also, it's not uncommon to hire outside of discipline. It's not completely uncommon to hire outside of discipline, right? And things are getting more and more that way. So people are much more interested. Some people are more interested in what you know than whether your degree is in physics or material science or electrical engineering or mechanics, all those kind of fields that can overlap, right? So you could have a material science PhD and get hired in the mechanical engineering department. I mean, that's, well, so when I was here, mechanical was joined with material science, with MEMS. So it's hard either way. Yeah, I don't know, statistically, it's hard to imagine there being a difference. There might be more options mechanical, but I don't know, it's still like at the noise level. So back to your first question. So there's two responses to that. One is so people, if you tell someone something that they don't know, people automatically, in academia, so everyone in academia thinks they're smart. Everyone kind of knows they're kind of smart, and they think they're really smart. And some of them are really smart, but some of them are just like, okay, smart. But all of those people have like big egos, right? Like around smart people, you are smart, you get like, it's kind of nice, right? So when somebody's like, tells you something you don't know, you're like, wow, that guy must be really smart. He just said something I never heard of before. So that's one thing. The impact of that is, the takeaway from that is, for those of you who decide to go into academia, or pursue it at least, make sure in your job talk, so you'll give a 1-hour lecture on your research. There should be like a 10 to 15 minute chunk in the middle that, unless your advisor is in the room or your postdoc advisor is in the room, nobody in the room should understand. Just super deep, You only understand it because you spent 7 years on this tiny little detail, okay? Because then everybody in the room is going to be like, ah, she's really smart. She told me something I never even heard of. Okay? So that's an aside. So, but that's part of the culture that gets back to being like, being a jerk and being, so there's a lot of insecurity in academia as well. And it manifests itself in ugly ways, and there's also weird motivations for being in academia. So why do you want to go to a job where you make less than you do in industry, work 50% more, have to battle for your summer salary by getting grant money? I'm not sure at Caltech, which as far as I know is the only school that pays summer salary as part of your contract. Which, by the way, is a tough place to get a job at. So think about the subset of people who want to go into that job. I want to work a zillion hours a week.